Welcome to the Christian Romance Podcast, where we go behind the books with inspiring Christian romance authors, exploring faith, love, and the journey that brings the story to life. I'm your host, Kelly Jo Wilson, and today we're chatting with Rachel Chamberlayne. Rachel is a wife, stay-at-home mom, writer, and dedicated blogger with a deep love for all things romance. A born-again Christian for nearly a decade, Rachel's faith is at the heart of everything she writes, infusing her stories with humor, hope, and heartfelt truth. Through her witty and faith-filled romances, she aims to glorify Jesus while offering readers stories that uplift and inspire. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the episode so you can hear more about our newest book giveaway that includes Rachel's new book, My Grumpy Editor. Now, here's my conversation with Rachel. Hi, Rachel. I am so happy to have you on the Christian Romance Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, I'm excited to hear more about you and your story and about this wonderful debut novel coming out, My Grumpy Editor. I cannot wait. But first, why don't you let our listeners know a little bit more about you, how you got started on this writing journey, and what made you want to be a Christian romance author?
Yeah, so it's funny that you should ask that because I did not set out to write a Christian romance. It wasn't that I didn't want to write a Christian romance, but at the time that I started writing this book, I was not reading a lot of Christian romance. I read a lot of sweet, lighthearted, but maybe light faith elements to the books, but not overtly Christian fiction. And all the Christian fiction that I had read was historical romance, Francine Rivers. And so that's kind of what I thought Christian romance was. And so when I started writing this, I thought it was going to be like a romantic comedy, lighthearted, fluffy. But then I'm a pantser. And so when I started writing it, I couldn't really, as I learned more about the characters as I went, I realized that Abby, she was a Christian like myself. And I couldn't separate her faith or my faith from the story as it was unfolding. And so I've had to take a step back and realize, okay, I think this is Christian fiction. I think this is Christian romance. And so I kind of had one of those moments where, like a Jonah moment, where I kind of wanted to run away from it because I feel like that is such a big calling to be led by God to write fiction that represents him and his truth. So yeah, and then when I stepped back and I realized, okay, this is Christian fiction, I really had to, dig deep and pray about it and get serious about the themes that were unfolding in the book. And I didn't want to, because sexual assault and grief are two big themes in the book. And so because of that, I didn't want to market it as a sweet fluffy rom-com when there were these deeper themes that really needed to be addressed and treaded very lightly, especially from a Christian worldview and perspective. So
I love that you said that you were a little bit taken aback by the calling because it is important, right? It can be very intimidating whenever co-creating with God, because it is a time where you have to really examine yourself. You have to be you got to surrender. Any calling that or anything that he calls us to, it can be intimidating. It can be scary.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait, I don't know what I'm doing. What are you saying? I don't know how to do this. I totally
so unequipped. Yeah.
Yeah. So unequipped. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of, it's more about the surrender with him, right? Is letting him be as he always says, my strength is made perfect in weakness. So, in our weakness, right? So he's strong.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about that, just more about surrendering.
Yeah.
The more we surrender, obviously, the stronger we are, because the stronger he is, because we're not meant to do it. We're not meant to know.
No,
But
100%.
I love that you said that, though, because it is when you're facing it and you're that you have this call and that he's taking you down this path that you've never been down before. You were just looking at it very real.
Yes.
Was there now, after you decided to kind of go with it, and once you realized that maybe he was showing you something in yourself, because I know that happens a lot. Most of the authors I talk to on this show will also admit that anytime that, because we're co-creating with God as Christian authors, he's always doing a work in us. Do you feel like he was doing that with you also?
Yes, because primarily, like originally, I like to joke that I used to like to joke that I write purely for selfish reasons. And so when God enters the chat and you're, like you said, I love the word co-creating with God, suddenly it's not about you anymore. And it's not about your own ambitions and your own. And that was primarily what it was. Like I had always wanted to be an author and I'd always wanted to be a published author. And so when you take a step back or when I took a step back and I really examined my motives for writing, I was like, well, it was to bring glory to myself, really. And so I love that God, he came in and he was like, I want this for you as well, but I want this to be about myself. Like, this is for my glory. And so that was really something that I had to learn throughout the process of, because I really had to lean on him and not my own understanding as I was
Mm.
going through this book and revising it and pulling out the faith elements and the themes that he really wanted me to infuse the story with. So when you're relying on him, there's not a lot of room for like puffing yourself up and like, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, especially he has you carrying some heavy lifting with sexual assault and with
Yes.
grief. Those are two very powerful
Yeah.
emotional experiences for your reader.
Yes.
Um so that, that's, you're going to have to do a lot of leaning on that one. I can tell you.
Oh yeah.
For
And
sure.
God was so gracious because he brought me the right readers who
Mm.
really helped me not just refine the book, but validated what I was doing. Because one of my beta readers had made the comment, like, I'm okay with this, but some Christian readers who are more sensitive may not take to what happens. Because what happens to Abby, I don't describe it on the page, so it's not graphic. But obviously, like, because it's such a difficult topic, you're going to have readers who are more sensitive to that. And so I wanted to be as very careful as possible. And she did make the comment, like, some people won't like this. And that got me very nervous. But at the same time, I had other readers who said, like, thank you for writing this
Mhm.
because I saw myself in this and your words brought me comfort. And that was just like, I don't know, that really touched me because I personally have never experienced that, but I know people who have and people who I love and who are very close to me who have experienced that. And I'm very passionate about if they feel like it was their fault. I'm just so passionate about helping them understand, like, nothing you did made you responsible for what happened to you. And
Mm.
so to hear that she felt seen by reading that, I just was, yeah, I was so thankful that he brought me her in the beta reading process. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. It's almost
Yes.
like you said, it's so validating because
Yeah.
if one person is impacted like that,
Yes.
it just takes one voice to really amplify and glorify him, and also tell other people, because if she's that impacted, and she may know other people who need to hear it too. And it's
Yeah.
very important. It's more than a story. It's something to, like you said, make someone else feel seen, as a very powerful, intimate relationship with a reader, but also directing them to an intimate relationship with God. And it is
Yes.
just beautiful. So,
Yes.
God love you for doing this and writing it. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, I know people who also have been, who have had that happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
by churches, like in churches
Yes.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very difficult topic. But our books or our stories, they're never for everybody. They just
Yeah.
aren't, because there's going to be, I appreciate that your beta reader gave you such honest feedback, but there's
Hmm.
always going to be some people who either want less of the real because they've dealt with
Yeah.
already too much real and they want an escape, or who want to see those deeper themes so they can have them resonate with them. So,
Yeah,
it's more about
100%.
kind of positioning yourself there, which one.
Yeah, you have to really decide like what your goal with writing something is. And so but I also like there is a certain rhetoric, like certain topics or issues don't belong in quote unquote Christian fiction. And so I really want to butt back against that, because if we as Christian writers, authors, creatives, artists aren't talking about certain things, then we're allowing space for secular authors who may not have our best interests at heart, or who may not believe you know, something that's going to be helpful for a Christian woman who's experienced something like this. If they come in and say something, those things can lead them away from God rather than to God. And so
Mm.
if there's a gap in Christian fiction where we aren't talking about sexual assault, for example, then a Christian woman who has experienced something like that isn't going to find something that will validate her and bring her closer to Jesus necessarily. So bridging that gap is super important to me, like not censoring ourselves and limiting ourselves just because we are Christians.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because I think it's important to, we're all sinners. There's not one person who hasn't sinned except
Yeah.
for Jesus. And Christians also deal with all of these things, right?
Yes.
There's so many crazy
Yes.
things that happen in this world. And as Christian people, we need to know how to navigate it.
Yes.
How do you look to Jesus? How do you not blame yourself whenever this is happening? How do you, especially even things like abortion and things like that. I remember reading a study. I think I just talked about this actually the other day. The people that go to the church, or women, don't like, the church is like the last place that they would turn if they're have a pregnancy that's outside of marriage, or an
Yeah.
unplanned pregnancy. That the church is one of the last places that they turn, and because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be looked at as and looked down upon. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
we want to shift that, right? Like the church is like the first place we want you to turn. Come to us. Although I will say that in
Yeah.
this little report, I felt very good, because I am a nurse. I'm no longer at the bedside now. I do medical writing too. So I feel like it's just like you said, it's very important to highlight these real things
Yeah.
and not make it such a taboo kind of thing. Like, just
Yeah. The
make it
word
like
taboo.
we,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
Yep.
like you said, with Francine Rivers, Redeeming Love has all this stuff in it. I mean, it's one of the
Yes.
most popular of all time Christian
Yes.
romance, Christian fiction books. And it has very, very hard things in
Dark
there.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
redemption is such a beautiful story, you
Yeah, and
know?
that's the thing, like the darkest places, that's where the light shines the brightest, because it's that's why we need Jesus. We need him because this world is a dark place, and we are to be the light. So,
Absolutely. 100%.
yep.
I've talked about it before on the show, so I'll give you like a quick snippet of the story, but the darkness and the light contrast, I encourage you, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if they have any by you in Iowa, but if you ever get a chance to go to a mine that has no light in it, I would definitely suggest it. I went there one time for my husband and I's anniversary. We like took ATVs to up, like, oh, it was crazy. I don't even know what we were doing, but we we went into this mine. It's like one of the last mines. I think there's another one in Kentucky. As we went, and you could drive in, it was like big enough. They used to use it for mushroom farming too, because it's like perfectly like 50 degrees in there, and it was dark. It was like perfect.
Yeah.
So as we drive in there, when we shut our lights off of the ATV, it was complete darkness. Like you can't even see in front of your face. Like you couldn't even see your hand, nothing, complete darkness. Let me tell you, it was such a spiritual experience for me. My husband had to hear me talking about it for like days after, because I'm like, this is what it's like. This
Yeah.
is what it's like to not know Jesus, right? To have this darkness that you're dealing with every day, this pain and hurt and struggle and strife in the world, right? Because all these thorns are coming up all the time, gnawing at us and fiery darts at us all the time.
Yeah.
But to not have Jesus is so dark. You cannot
Hmm.
see. And right then I was like, I have to make a podcast episode. I was like, oh, on this like thing. But it's true. It's true. There's so much darkness and we just need
Yes.
him. And, people, and we talk about it on the show all the time too. Sometimes people aren't quite at a Bible yet, picking up a Bible. They don't know. They don't know how to get started, but they may pick up a book and
Mm.
they may read it in your book. Like they have
Yes.
this Abby who has gone through trauma and hey, I went through trauma. Okay, now, and then maybe it's a seed, right? So it's just
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? So no spoilers, but we love to hear about the story, like the heroine Abby and then the hero and some of the tropes in there. Let us know.
Yeah, so this is, in a nutshell, a romance between a sweet writer and her grumpy editor. It's Abby is a fish out of water. She moves to the big city um, to chase after her dream to become a writer, which was very easy to write about for someone like me. and yeah, and so she encounters a lot of trials when she's away from her support system for the first time, and her faith is challenged in ways that it has never been challenged before. And she finds comfort in the most unexpected place when something happens to her um, that she has never had happen to her before. And so originally this person, she didn't think that he would be a comfort to her, but he ends up being um, a good friend to her. And yeah, so
That is really fun. So who is he? What's his name? What's the
his
editor's name?
name is Philip. So Philip Baker. And he is our grumpy editor, the star of the show. So yeah, I love Philip so much. He's studious, he's smart, he's shy and sweet, and he's a secret cinnamon roll, even though he's got this grumpy exterior, which I think that's my favorite thing about the grump sunshine trope. Like, not all the time, but sometimes the grump is just like this secret cinnamon roll, and I love that. And that is Phil.
Oh, that's fun. I love it too. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because they always are, because they're hard for a reason, right? There
Yeah.
has to be a reason that makes him want to push people away. He probably, I love when they like love too hard and they get hurt and then just keeps people at arm's length.
Yeah.
And then the right person like Abby needs to come along and poke enough at him to get some of that
Yes.
sweetness
Yes. Yeah.
for sure. For
Yep,
sure.
she wins his heart with her like baked goods. So I think one of the side characters says, "Oh, you weaseled your way into his good graces with your freakishly yummy baked goods."
That's awesome. Oh, that's sweet. So
Yeah.
she is a writer. What is she like write novels? Is she write for like a paper or she want to be a journalist? What kind of writer is she?
So she's a poet. So she
Oh,
writes about her love for Jesus, and she is a very she's homeschooled, so she comes from a somewhat sheltered background. And so she's worked for her father at his bakery all her life, and so when she gets this opportunity to write for a digital marketing company, she takes it, she goes to the big city, and that's kind of where her story begins. So
that is really fun. So
yeah,
going to Chicago is absolutely a very big city. So
very big. Yeah.
very big.
Yeah.
Complete opposite. And where was she coming from before? Where's her hometown?
So she comes from a fictional town called Blair's Ferry, which is right on the Mississippi. And it is like a cute, kind of picturesque town with Victorian homes and wrought iron fences and all the fun things. So But yeah, very small town girl moving to the big city. So
That's really fun. I love that too. And then forced proximity you have there too, just because he's her editor, correct? So
yes,
she's writing for or she moves it to write for the digital marketing company, and then he's her editor. So and he's
yes.
likely rude to everybody, but then gets a little. Hopefully, she softens his heart a little bit.
Yes, and there's a little bit of fake dating in there as well, but I can't give away why, so I'll
Okay.
leave that to readers.
Oh, now you're killing us. Oh, I love the fake dating too.
I
That's
know, me
always
too.
so fun because you know what I love? Because I feel like so many authors nowadays are getting very creative at how to do the fake dating. Like
Yeah,
it's not just like, oh, I need a date, even though I love all of them anyway. Like I
yes,
need a date for this wedding, or it's like for real neat creative ways. So
yes,
I'm sure you did the same, and I do not want to give away any spoilers
yes.
about this. And it sounds super, super fun. And Abby sounds very sweet. And you also, like I said, don't want to have to give away spoilers, but it also sounds like she goes through something that's pretty traumatic that she has to um, handle and
Hmm.
or learn how to handle or learn maybe to trust God to help her handle it. Well, we are almost at time. We're getting a little bit close. And Rachel, I just wanted to ask you, so going through this, especially with these big themes, I'm always very curious to see how God kind of drifts your faith, what that journey kind of looks like with themes like this, because especially if beta readers are being very touched by your book already,
Hmm.
that tells me that I'm sure, God was definitely working in your heart so much.
Hmm.
Did he guide you to any particular verse maybe that was tied to this book, or even just to encourage you through this journey? Because it is scary to step out and do a new thing.
Yeah, so I suppose there isn't a specific verse that I that could sum up, the theme of the book. But I suppose like the biggest theme in the book in general is to be deeply rooted in God's word,
Mm.
which is, I guess, oh, I wish I had the verse like to pull up at the moment, but yeah. So what Abby goes through, she really, both Phil and Abby discovered that they needed to be deeply rooted in the Word of God, in order to know not only who He is, but what He has to say about the things that they go through, that you're going to go through in life. Trials and tribulations, the ups and downs. Otherwise, Satan's lies will get into your head and influence what you believe or how you react or how you respond to a certain situation. Um, yeah. So,
Oh yeah, that sounds beautiful. And that's just, being deeply rooted and putting that just makes me think of like putting on the armor of God, like
yes,
making
such a
sure that
great
you.
verse. I'm so glad you pulled that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. How he says, the helmet of salvation and the shield of faith to just, block against all the fiery darts because they come. I mean, they come. And I feel like, and I'm curious to hear if this is the same for you too, but I feel like you get more fiery darts whenever you're getting really close to like something amazing, like a breakthrough,
Yeah.
especially stepping out for God, writing for him, praying, anytime, any way to distract you away from him. Do you feel like that happens too?
100%. Yes. It's always when you're closest to breakthrough or you are being you're fighting to be obedient to the Lord. It's in the trenches of obedience that the devil really likes to attack you spiritually, is what I found. So definitely.
Yeah. And it's hard because it's like, I mean, we're weak. It's so easy, especially nowadays, to just be distracted. I feel like distraction's like the absolute worst because there's so many ways with social media and with different things and different priorities, especially with writing and trying to marketing and reach people and things like that. And especially if your priorities are all competing, are all really good. Like,
Yeah.
you want to do more with your kids or with your husband or with your family or this and that. And, sometimes we just gotta stop and listen and take some time with God because that's the most important time that we can spend in a day, but
Yes.
it's like so hard sometimes whenever you aren't intentional. Do you feel like that? You have to be really intentional, especially being a mom, wife and mom and homemaker, like doing all these things, being an author.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. I was just having a conversation with my husband about it because he's very zealous about what he does for work, and I feel that way about writing. And I asked him, I was like, how do you balance a passion for something without it becoming an idol,
Hmm.
And that was a thing that we talked about. And really, kind of what it boiled down to was what you said, making sure that you are prioritizing what matters, even though you're getting pulled in all these different directions. There's obviously a very easy hierarchy that we can go back to is, Jesus, family, and then, whatever calling specifically he's called you to, So I kind of look at it in terms of that. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and anxiety is a sign that I'm not in prayer about something, So whenever I'm feeling those feelings of like I'm feeling pulled this way or just overwhelmed in general, prayer, getting into the word, those things, it's a sign to me that my priorities have like shifted and I need to put them back in that order that I lean on. That is, yeah. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. And that's like so perfectly said. I know the same thing too. Same thing
Yeah.
for me too. The one day I was like so upset. I don't like, yelling at my son. My son's such a sweetheart. My oldest son, he's 11. He's like the sweetest child ever. Very
Oh,
empathetic. He has such empathy. I don't know how, and he's been like that his whole life. Like he's so like
oh,
doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Always he's like, "Oh, I would never, mom." Like he's just like such a good kid.
yeah.
And he kids get attitudes, they just get attitudes some days. And the one day, and I hadn't prayed this particular morning, and I was just kind of going about my day, just thinking, it's a weekend, it's okay, da, da, da. And I yelled like so loud, and I don't even like to do that. Like I really don't. It actually hurts my heart. I can't do it.
Mhm.
And I lost my voice right then. As soon as I yelled, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous."
That's
Like
crazy.
I was
Wow.
like, "I need to get in prayer. This is
Yeah.
stupid." And I even
Yeah.
said to my son, I was like, "I'm so sorry that I yelled like that. You did not deserve it." I of course was giving an attitude about homework or something crazy, but he's like, "No, mama, I'm sorry that I made you yell and whatever." I was like,
Oh,
"No,
oh
no,
no.
no, that is not for
It's so
you. No,
it's so hard. Yeah,
I
like sometimes
know.
your emotions just get the best of you and like I have moments like
Yes.
that, like when you have a toddler, you just and your sleep is not great when you're, with being pregnant and everything. I have moments like that all the time too, and it's so brutal because you step back and you're like, "Oh, I could have done better, Lord."
I know, I know. I'm like, "Jesus, please forgive me for being a dummy, okay? Because this is
A
so ridiculous."
dummy.
And
Yes.
I tell my son that too because I like him to see like we make mistakes too and we should
Yeah.
be accountable. And I
Yeah.
said, dude, I love you. I am sorry. That was not on you. That's mommy not taking a minute and just taking a breath, and that's not the right way how to act." And he was like, "Oh, mama, it's okay." He's like being all sweet, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Those moments you are showing him your faith in action though. So they're blessing too because it's like if we're not having these moments, we can't demonstrate the gospel in apologizing and showing and then showing them grace in moments when they don't treat us in I only have a 2-year old but an 11-year-old they might have an attitude at times and in those moments we really get to walk out our faith, which is easier said than done, but they're a blessing in disguise when we're walking in obedience and trying to model our beliefs to our children. So
Yes, for
yeah.
sure. Yes, very well said.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, why don't you let everyone know where they can best connect with you and where they can get this wonderful book, My Grumpy Editor?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram primarily, just at author Rachel Chamberlain. Chamberlain spelt kind of funny. It's Chamberlayne. And the book is available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited and and paperback, or you can get a signed paperback from my website, which is just rachelchamberlayne.com.
Wonderful. And I will have all of those links in the show notes. Especially your website is just gorgeous. I love how you have it set up to get the paperback and everything. I would definitely encourage everybody to go to Rachel's website and get a signed copy. That's absolutely wonderful that you do that. And just thank you so much for being here, Rachel. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much. It was so fun talking to you. Yep, about life and books and children. So
all the good things.
All the good things in life.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a new release. We love blessing our listeners with exclusive author chats and, of course, amazing books. Each month, we host a themed book giveaway where you can win a bundle of Christian romance novels and a few fun extras, too. This month's theme is one that's especially close to my heart: contemporary love. We're giving away 6 heartfelt stories that reflect the beauty of real-life romance. From second chances and small-town charm to grumpy sunshine pairs and creative careers, these books deliver all the feels, and I'm so excited to share them with you. Whether you're listening right when the episode drops or tuning in later, you can always find the latest giveaway at christianromancepodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, keep your faith, share the love, and happy reading.